Yeehaw! Hi everybody, it's Jonas Lamis, and today my guest is Hall Martin. Hall's known throughout the Central Texas community as a facilitator of lots of different interesting kinds of entrepreneurial activities. He's been involved from a blogging perspective, he's been involved from an angel investor and network development perspective.
That's right. He's
taught classes, he runs events, and somehow he manages to keep a full-time job on top of all of that, which is very impressive. So, Hall, welcome to our little podcast here.
Well, thank you for having me, Jonas.
You bet. So, first of all, tell us about what you're currently focused on. What is the entrepreneurial activity that really gets you excited these days?
Well, we at Austin Entrepreneur Network are all about networking, mentoring, and funding. And people that come to us are primarily looking for funding, but about 90% of the people that come to us are not ready for funding. And so we have to go back through the process of getting them some more mentorship and helping them network into the community itself to find that mentorship itself. So currently we're offering things like the First Look Forum, which is pairing mentors with entrepreneurs, and that gives them a chance to build up a board of advisors, build up more connections in the community. Austin's a great entrepreneurial place, but it's also a very diffused community where you don't often know exactly where the resources are.
Right. So for the last couple of years, you were heavily involved in managing one of the angel networks.
That's right. Actually, I've been doing angel investing for about 10 years now. We used to have a group called the Capital Network back in 1995 to 2002, and they went out in 2002. They were fairly tech-centric, and when the dot-com bust, they kind of busted with them. And we didn't have an angel group for several years, and so I worked with individual groups doing angel investing around town on an individual basis. And in 2006, they reformed a formal angel group called the Central Texas Angel Network. And I signed up to be a member, one of the first ones there. And after a couple of months, we lost our director, and so I moved into the director position for a few years and did that. And glad to say we actually got $5 million invested in 20 deals and grew the membership to about 50 people in the 2 years we were there. So it was a great launch at that particular time.
Right, and then you were doing that, and you've also been doing a lot of blogging, right?
That's right. You know, as part of that effort with the Central Texas Angel Network, I started a blog, and with the goal of trying to communicate more to angels about how to do angel investing and entrepreneurs about how to start up their business. As we did more of the blogs and blog postings, the feedback was that the entrepreneur stories are much more interesting, as in that they acted like mini case studies. People learned a lot more from it than we did the angel topics. So I kind of let go of the angel topics because that was for a very narrow set of interests, and went more for just the interviews with entrepreneurs about how they started their company.
In fact, you interviewed me for one of my companies a little over a year ago, and I think that initial interview actually was what ultimately ended up creating my relationship with a company called Pyrex here in town. Because Tom Saris, who was then the just starting founder of that company, had read about my interests in helping startups and some of the emerging technology stuff I was working on, and he gave me a call and he said, "Hey, we need to talk. I read about your, I read about your interests in Hall's blog, and since then I've been actively involved in that startup." So,
well, that's great. You know, the idea behind the blog is that it's really people first and the company second. So often when you read things in the newspaper, it's the company first, and maybe you hear about the people behind it. And our philosophy is put the people first, and then the company, and other things will come after that.
Absolutely. So your activities in the Angel Network and in blogging have more recently coalesced into the launch of the AEN, the Austin Entrepreneur Network, right, which is a website and a network. So tell us about what that is.
That's right. Well, you know, I worked at the Central Texas Angel Network up until the end of last year, and then it got to be too many hours, and so I stepped out of that director role and went back to being a member. So I got a bunch of hours back and thought, well, what can I do? And I noticed when I was at C10 that a lot of entrepreneurs had a hard time networking and finding their way into the community. And so I said, well, I'm going to work on that problem of networking and mentoring primarily. And so I decided we could start a website, Austin Entrepreneur Network, that would have two things on it. One, it was have a series of blogs, not just mine, but we have about 25 other blogs that people can come to and they can read about different topics, whether it be sales or marketing or product development, and learn about how you do these things at no cost. You just log on and read all you want. And then second is, I started to research the number of groups around town here in Austin that supported entrepreneurs in some way, shape, or form. And I always thought there was 15, 20 groups that I was telling people to go to. And after doing our research, we came up with a list of about 135 groups, and it's still growing. I found 4 more today that serve the entrepreneurs and the international business is what I came across today. So I'll add them to the list as well, and they're all clickable links, so you can very quickly get to a certain resource, whether it be networking, mentoring, or funding, and learn where these people are and what they can do to help you.
And you've recently been doing some in-person training, group training for entrepreneurs as well. Tell us about that.
Well, we have 2 groups. One is we have a long course. It's an 8-week class, 2 hours each week, which we call the Startup Business class, that basically teaches the entrepreneurs about the basics of starting a business, whether it be financial, sales, marketing, etc. And we go through the process. In addition to the class, they get some mentorship, one-on-one, and coaching to help them with their specific problem. So there's generalized material, and then there's also just specific help for what they're doing. And then we've also started a short course series where it's over a lunchtime, 1 time a week, we have specialists come out and talk about a particular topic of interest that people can come out and learn about that is not tied to a long course. You can come to one, all of them, or just any shape you want to get that new information that's coming up.
And for those different kinds of courses, where can the audience find out about those?
On our website, we have a link that tells you, usually in the calendar section is the list of the courses that are coming up. And we're revamping the website to actually make that a little bit broader and more easy to reach.
Great. All right, folks, that's the story with Hall Martin here in the Austin Entrepreneur Network. Hopefully you'll tune in real soon again for another interesting story about technology, entrepreneurship in Austin. Thanks.